So now we start looking into JavaScript, the language, and we see how we can actually use it in our code. JavaScript is a dynamically typed language, meaning that unlike languages like C# or Java, types are associated with values, not variables. So the first thing I'll be doing is to go over the different data types that we have available to us in JavaScript, the different nuances that comes with every data types. And I know this may not sound really exciting, but it's really important that we go over this before we actually start digging deeper into the language. So JavaScript had 6 data types, but as of ES 2015, they included another one called symbol. Symbol is a way for us to assign unique variables. And according to the official JavaScript documentation, the only purpose for this data type is to be used as an identifier for object properties. We're not really going to cover this today. So the data types here are undefined and null, and we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between the two. But in short, undefined is a variable that has been declared but nothing has been assigned to it, and null, something has been assigned to it but this something has no value. Don't worry about this for now, we're going to go over this. And then we have string, number, boolean, object, and finally symbol. So the first data type we have here is string. And strings can be defined with double quotations, single quotation, or the backticks. So you could do something like this where you say constant and then the name of the variable equal the value, or you could do it with single quotations, or my favorite is when you do it with a backtick, and I'm gonna go over why that is my favorite. Now, if you're going to be using single quotes for your string, there is one side effect that you need to be aware of. That is, if you have a string like this where there is a single quote as part of the value itself, JavaScript will think that the value ends right here. So a possible fix for this would be to have a backslash before that single quote, and now JavaScript will know to ignore that one. That is not where the value will end. Or you could also use double quotations, and that way you can actually have single quotes in the content itself. If you want to have a multi-line string, there are different ways you could do that. The first one is using the escape backslash or the /n for a new line, and backticks, again, my favorite. So the first one here, this is a whole string, it's all in one line. So if you want to use the first method, which is the representational multi-line where you have a backslash at the end of the line, notice that this is actually just on the code side of things. So when you actually represent this to, if you want to use that on the HTML, this is not going to be an actual multi-line, it's all going to be one paragraph. But if you wanted to have an actual multi-line, that's when you use the \n and for new line. So this will be an actual multi-line where it will be represented in multiple lines. Or if you use the backticks, there is no need to have backslashes anywhere. You can just type what you want and it will carry you over to the next line. Now, strings also have a lot of built-in functions and properties such as the length and to uppercase. And you can learn a lot more about this from the official documentation. So if you go to Mozilla's documentation for JavaScript, they will have an explanation of all the methods and properties that are available to you. So it will start with the syntax, the different parameters that you can pass to it. If there are, you notice on the left here, these are all the functions that you can actually use with JavaScript. So you can have something like split or slice. You can search or substring a string that you have into multiple sections. So for example, here you can have a variable that has all the alphabet, and then you have another variable that is basically alphabet.length, and that will have the number in there. You could also do this whole alphabet like this, and then you want to convert the whole thing to lowercase, so and assign it to a new variable. You could also do that using the toLowercase method. You could also cast different data types to strings by just calling the actual string constructor. So if you have a number like that, I can convert it to a string using the string, and then between the parentheses I will just pass in that variable. Or you could also use the number to string method where you just convert it to a string like that. Once the number has been converted to a string, then I can use the string properties and methods like .length to know that this is a 3-digit number. Now we're still on strings, and let's talk about how you can concatenate different strings together. And here we have two ways. You can either use the plus sign like you'd normally do in Java, or you could use something called templating, and we'll see how we can do both right here. So the first one, if I had a variable with the name, and I wanted to concatenate that to a welcome message variable, I can say welcome, and then I have to leave a space here plus the name variable plus the other string, and this is how you could do it. Or you could just simply use backticks, and here I can just say welcome, and then I will put a $sign and curly brackets and type in whatever variable name you want inside there. That is the templating way, and that adds more to why backticks are my favorite way of defining strings here.